motifs and playing melodically. I think that's super important. I mean, we're all guilty of practicing and trying to work out, all these lines and scales or whatever. Uh, but what really reaches people is a good melody. The people I like to listen to that I find I can go back to a lot are those melodic type players, and of the Matheny's, Kurt Rosenwinkel's writing.
Right.
It's stuff that has good melodic content, going all the way back to, of course, Wes and Grant Green and George, all those guys. Being able to play simple and using the melody in your solos gets overlooked too much. So it's always, I tell my students, good way to finish your solo is play the melody. It's really, there's nothing you can play better than the melody if you think of it that way. Of course, we know you have to really work on your craft, study. You got to put in the hours, you got to put in the time. Don't overlook the fact it's to listen to the greats that came before to learn how to play. I feel that transcribing and helped me a lot. Of course, you don't want to go and play somebody's solo verbatim, but by listening to guys like Pat Martino, Wes, Grant, George, Kenny Burrell, you get you start to get the feel of this music and the language that is used, and some of it rubs off and it becomes part of you organically. And so, studying your craft and becoming really good at it, so that when it comes time to make music or record or just even play on a gig, you can draw from that, because you want to have that all at your disposal. So it becomes more effortless, and you don't have to think about it, because music is such a crazy thing. If you start thinking about stuff too much, then the music goes out the window. You have to just let it happen, and it's hard to teach that or to even describe it in a way. That's when music is at its best, is when you're just in the moment and creating. So you have to have that foundation in your playing. The blues is super important, I think, to this music. That should always be another foundation. Have that foundation of the blues underneath your playing. It makes, from here, that soulfulness. Being a good person, being whether you're in a school setting or just on the scene, be compassionate person, and reach out to your peers, reach out even to your heroes. Be a part of the scene. Show up at say you like a certain guitar player, show up at their gigs. I have certain of my students that I look out and they come to my gigs. Eventually I'll let them sit in a little bit. That's how you built those relationships. And you have to do that to start to get called to do gigs, to sub or do maybe a teaching gig. It's about relationships, and being a good person. People will feel that and want to help you and want to use you. So it's those interpersonal relationships that you, maybe when you're in school, the people that are around you, and they could be your colleagues going forward for the years to come. So build those relationships no matter where you are, and try not to get discouraged. Just try to stay positive. Look, we're lucky to have this, to have music in our lives. It's sometimes we forget that, because it's such a hard way to make a living. But especially for jazz, having there's nothing like it when you're improvising and the magic happens. You have to realize a lot of the people in the world don't. If you're a painter, if you're a writer, if you're an actor, if you're a dancer, any of these creative aspects, a sculptor, whatever, we're using a part of our brain that a lot of people don't get to use. That special creativity, using the part of your brain that is involved with creative thinking and spontaneity and all this stuff. That's a beautiful thing to have. And even though it can seem really brutal out there sometimes, the business and getting gigs, it's just It's always been that way. There's a lot of great players, not enough gigs. You just have to keep at it, and if you love this music enough, you'll find your way. And maybe you might do other types of gigs that have nothing to do with music, so that you can still play music and enjoy it, but maybe to pay your rent and buy food, you might have to do something else. I've done that over the years, and it's nothing wrong with it. But it's a gift to have music in our lives, and so keep doing it. Don't get discouraged.